Broadcasting from the heart of the nation, the next generation in conservative talk radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Yes, it is. What is up, my friends? Welcome into it. It is your election day, Tuesday, the greatest day of the entire week. And, of course, we see it as a holiday as well because election day, you can smell the patriotism in the air. Going out, casting your vote, doing your civic duty. Have you voted yet? You sure as heck better have. If not, you better get there before the polls close in your neck of the woods, fill in the blank, wherever that may be across the nation. Welcome into it. It is the Voice of Reason. I am Andy Hoosier, broadcasting here in the heart of the nation in Wichita, Kansas on our flagship radio station. But we are all over the country, multiple radio stations, TV, live streaming, podcasting, doing our thing.
Do it live!
Like we do every single day here on this show. I voted this morning before I headed off down to the studio, because I live like 45 minutes away from the studio. So I did it this morning, and actually kind of interesting news. So I have not talked about it because I really can't talk about it, but running for local seats in my community. But we went and voted this morning, and it was a little weird. We're actually dealing with an issue with the county where our county actually made a mistake on our ballot. So the city council races in our little town, there are 3 open seats and there are 5 candidates, which means you have to vote for 3 candidates, and the top 3 end up getting the seats, and the other 2 don't make it. We got to the polling place this morning, first out of the gate, and the paper ballots say only vote for 2 candidates, not for 3. Whoa! So I was one of the first ones. I mean, there was a line of a decent amount of people right out of the gate this morning that opened up at 7 a.m., and we talked to the county. Apparently the workers there called the county election office, and they said, well, yeah, that's a mistake, and that should not have happened. So we're going to tell people to vote for 3 people, and then the carryover, when they do the hand counting of the ballots, they're going to decide on who the top 3 are. The problem is if not everybody votes for 3, then does that election become null and void? So there could be a suit or some type of challenge with the county based on the election results, and we could have to have a whole nother special election soon for just specifically for the city council because of only telling people to vote for 2 when there's actually 3 open seats. So that was kind of a gaffe on the county issue. Whoopsies. And hopefully it works out. So we'll see what those election results look like going into tonight. All right, there's a lot to get to today. Obviously, with Election Day, we're going to cover some of the latest polls, the final polls that went into election morning today. What does that mean? And what could the future of many of these communities look like moving forward, depending on what the outcome actually looks like. Also, Mary Theroux on the program, bottom of the hour. She is the author of the book Beyond Homeless, as we talk about the homeless population, the increasing concern about homelessness, the real estate market, the corruption behind some administrations and bureaucratic agencies that are there to assist the homeless population, but are they? Not necessarily. And we'll cover some of that at the bottom of the hour. Also, by the way, government shutdown still ongoing, and it does tie in to the election today because, as you know, that Democrats have openly said we want the government shutdown to go on until at least through today to put the pressure on Democrats to realize how bad the Trump administration is, to try and win over people that how Donald Trump's trying to kill us by cutting out social programs and not taking care of us with universal, basic income or universal health care, whatever the flavor of the day is. And they always seem to move the goalpost on why they're doing what they're doing. First, it was for the subsidies of Obamacare. Then it was because Republicans were trying to cover up the Epstein list vote that they wanted to do, that they weren't actually planning to do, but Republicans somehow were involved in that. So it was about the Epstein issue. Then it was to try and put pressure on Democrats to show how bad Republicans are for the election, to try and generate some activity and turnout for the elections this year. Then, according to Hakeem Jeffries today with another press conference on why Donald Trump is bad, on day number 30, whatever it is, on how bad Donald Trump and Republicans are for not giving you free goodies, they say that now the focus is on the midterms next year.
What I made clear is that given the existential nature of Donald Trump, his policies, his cruelty, his failure.
That's right. It's all Donald Trump.
The assault on the economy, the assault on health care, the assault on veterans, the assault on farmers, the assault on nutritional assistance, the assault on law-abiding immigrant communities, the assault on the American way of life, the assault on voting rights, the assault on the rule of law, and Donald Trump and Republican assault on democracy itself.
That's right, the threat to democracy.
That the most significant thing that can be done is for Democrats to take back control of the House of Representatives next year so we can end this national nightmare and begin the process of marching toward a more perfect union.
Now, a more perfect union, the more harmonized union when we have all the progressive Democrats that have all the power. We get back to being able to stop the Trump administration. We can censor conservative outlets and alternative media on social media. We change the algorithm to where conservative pundits don't have any influence whatsoever. And we live in a perfect socialized liberal harmony utopia to where we don't have any type of opposition. That's called authoritarianism, but by golly, to them, it's a harmonized democracy where Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans continue to be that threat to democracy and a domestic terrorist organization. It's like that's what he openly just said. And now it sounds like, I don't know, could the government shutdown go until next year? I don't know. I doubt it. But at the same time, he's now during a government shutdown press conference talking about not this election, but about next election and how they have to take back the House of Representatives. Now, more than likely, at least in the early preliminaries, that's not going to happen because we have the redistricting that's happening right now. And while usually midterm elections go for the opposition minority party, I don't really see that happening. But now we've moved the goalposts. It's not about this election, which is why they keep the shutdown going. It's next election. So what's the real deal? Why are Democrats really doing this, and how long could it go on, and what could it affect for the elections today? And that's where we go to our
What's Trending Today.
By the way, the threats about the threat to democracy, Donald Trump being a horrible human being. What did he call him?
Given the existential nature
of
Donald Trump, his policies, his cruelty.
That's right, the cruelty. It's all about the cruelty that Donald Trump has. Speaking of that, there are some more threats that happened right out of the gate today. As soon as polls opened, we saw headlines in New Jersey that there were bomb threats in at least 9 different counties. Not polling places, but counties. In all the polling places within different counties across New Jersey, where, according to after the investigation, they found out it was not credible. But they did look into them. They evacuated a couple of the polling places, some of them in Republican district especially. And you have to ask the question, after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, after the violent threats that we continue to see from Democrats, after the ICE riots and protests and the violent outbursts from Antifa, after all of the hatred and the violence and the intolerance and the insanity from the left, you can only imagine where this is coming from. They don't want to see Republicans turn out. And I don't know why they would even have to make threats, because according to the poly markets that we're seeing today, that we'll read off in just a minute, that Democrats have a very good chance of winning the majority of the big races this year that include the mayor in New York City with Zohan Mamdani, with the governor's race in New Jersey, with the AG's race in Virginia. Democrats are leading. And what does that mean? Does that mean that they're really gaining momentum? No, not necessarily. Does that mean that that's a good trend in momentum into the midterms next year? Not necessarily for 2026. But it does mean right now that we have some very blue areas that have been predominantly shifting further that way as the years have gone on, and that's really nothing different from what we've been seeing. Looking at the elections today, we have the last big outcry from Mamdani that went to the clubs over the weekend and now advocating. Oh, by the way, too, with the whole threats, Mamdani, which I don't know why he's even talking about it with his own race in New York City, commented on the whole bomb threat in New Jersey and said, well, obviously it's Donald Trump's fault, right?
Incredibly concerning.
Yeah.
And I think that it is an illustration of the attacks we're seeing on our democracy. Sometimes they're blatant and explicit in the manner of these bomb threats, and we have to understand this as part of the general approach the Trump administration has taken to trying to intimidate voters with baseless allegations of voter fraud as a means of trying to repress the voice of Americans across this country.
What are we talking about here? This guy is crazy, man. New York, we love New York. New York's kind of the heart, the heart of the nation, the financial hub of this nation and the world, so to speak. And that's what you have. the male version of AOC, the brain-dead socialist movement of the young generation, my generation, that's the best you got? The hell's wrong with you, man?
I am told this is a garbage disposal.
And of course, while they have created so much intolerance and violence and hate with the rhetoric that they continue to spread, with Hakeem Jeffries literally saying that Donald Trump is cruel, he's the one stripping health care and food away from your families and your children, and that he's the one that's created violence in the nation, they've literally had multiple assassination attempts from their side to Republicans. But yet we're the ones. And just like a bomb threat today, well, according to Mamdani, it's no surprise with the rhetoric that Donald Trump has. Gaslighting, man. This is, I've said it before, this is truly the domestic abuser syndrome that we are living in society. And for those that don't understand that analogy, what happens during a domestic abuser situation? Why are you making me hurt you? Why are you making me hit you over and over and over again? If you would just do what I want you to do, if you would just act the way I want you to act, if you would just do everything that I want you to be, then I wouldn't have to do this to you. But because you act a certain way, then you're making me do this to you. That's what Democrats have done, and it's gaslighting to the nth degree. If you would just stop being capitalist, we wouldn't have to hate you. If you would just stop trying to go after the deep state or the Illuminati or the parallel government or the bureaucratic agencies or the social if you would just stop going after all that, we wouldn't have to shut down the government and blame you for it. Just be more like us, and therefore we can live in harmony with an open-minded tolerance for everybody here, as long as you agree with us. That's what we're seeing, and Mamdani is the prime example of that. What are you talking about? This is Donald Trump with voter oppression garbage and election fraud, and that's why we're seeing bomb threats in New Jersey. How does that even relate? He's going to win, though, unfortunately. From what we've seen, Polymarket show that he is up right now, according to the Polymarket rankings, that Zoran Mamdani has a 92% chance of winning this morning, as opposed to Andrew Cuomo, that's sitting at 8%. Andrew Cuomo did receive the endorsement of Donald Trump. Don't know if that necessarily helps. And Cuomo said he's not even sure if he really even wants it early this morning when he got that news.
The president does not support me. The president opposes Zoran Mamdani. The president believes Zoran Mamdani is a communist. He believes he's an existential threat. I believe he's a socialist and an existential threat, and not a dress-up socialist, right? Their school of socialism, this Democratic Socialists of America, government controls the means of production. No private ownership of real estate. Abolish jails. Decriminalize prostitution. This is frightening stuff.
This is frightening stuff. So I love how he worded it. He's like, it's not an endorsement of me. It's an endorsement against Zoran Mamdani. So he kind of accepted it, but didn't really accept the endorsement from President Donald Trump. Doesn't really show according to the Polymarket. So if those are any way accurate at all, that he does not have a chance of winning this race. So what does it mean moving forward? For just a moment here, let's speculate. Let's go into 2026 and 2027, the midterms especially, of 2026. Does a Democrat victory across the board for New York City, for New Jersey, for Virginia, these major races that America's watching today, if Democrats sweep those, does that mean that they have momentum into the midterms next year in 2026? Honestly, I think it almost helps Republicans and hurts Democrats, because if Republicans see an openly renowned socialist win in one of the largest cities, that's going to scare the heck out of them. And by next year in the midterms, they are not going to sit idly by. They are not going to be complacent. They are not going to just think that everything's going kosher with the Trump administration. They are going to make sure Republicans hold on to the majority in both chambers of Congress. They're going to make sure that they vote for their governor's races. They're going to make sure that Republicans turn out next year, because this is the wake-up call that maybe some Republicans need that got a bit complacent this year because they did their duty in putting Trump into office. And now we realize socialism could take over.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. When reason meets radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Yeah, welcome back to the program. Thanks for hanging out today on a Election Day, Tuesday. Greatest day of the entire week and the greatest day of the year as we express our civic duty and our patriotism. I can smell it in the air today, and I'm really excited about that. We'll continue on with the election coverage. By the way, some of the other Polymarket rankings show that, well, the Democrats pretty much have a dominant run for most of the big races that are being paid attention to nationwide. Again, Mamdani over Andrew Cuomo having a 92% chance of winning there. Mikey Sherrill, the governor's candidate in New Jersey, has an 82% chance of winning over the Republican, 82-19 on that front. And the governor's race in Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, is that her name? 98% to 2%. 98-2 chance of winning that race in that state. So we're just across the board. Democrats could be winning. We'll see what that looks like by the time the polls close tonight. Hey, want to tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. There is a new campaign going on, a new promotion for you. If you've been thinking about switching your cell phone service over to Patriot Mobile, which I don't know why you wouldn't, because, well, they spend a lot of their money to help out conservative organizations like you and I. They have 100% U.S.-based customer service agents that can help you switch over. You can actually protect your identity and your privacy with their Up phone. There's so many opportunities for you to support Patriot Mobile and for them to support the same causes that you support. And now, if you use the promo code HOLIDAY25, you get 2 months free service. 2 months.
Say what?
Go to patriotmobile.com/holiday25. Again, patriotmobile/holiday25. When they ask about where you heard about this campaign, you can say that you heard it from us right here on the Voice of Reason, and you can use the promo code REASON as well. But use patriotmobile.com/holiday25 for Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless network that uses all three major networks with their towers, which means you don't lose any service. You get better service, you get better quality customer service, and they help support different campaigns that you support as well with Patriot Mobile. Again, patriotmobile.com/holiday25. All right, as we look at the government shutdown, by the way, we're still battling this shenanigans as Caroline Leavitt had a press conference earlier this morning and said this.
On Sunday alone, more than 5,000 flights traveling to and from U.S. airports were delayed. Since the Democrat shutdown began, 4 times as many staffing shortages have been reported at air traffic control facilities compared to last year. TSA checkpoint wait times ballooned past 3 hours at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport, with some passengers enduring up to 5 hours in line. At nearby William P. Hobby Airport in Texas, security wait times are routinely exceeding 1 hour. More than 13,000 air traffic controllers are continuing to work without pay. Because of the Democrats, these men and women who keep our airspace safe and moving will miss a second paycheck in a row this Friday if Democrats refuse to open the government. Let me be clear to our incredible air traffic controllers across the country. President Trump and Republicans want you to get your paychecks. They want you to be paid.
That is very true. So Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, although Chuck Schumer's not really in the limelight a whole lot, he's on Twitter making a few posts here and there, but not really out in front of the podium talking to the American people and explaining why they continue to keep this government shut down. Instead, they're out criticizing Donald Trump for having a ball at Mar-a-Lago, which they're like, how dare he have a 1920s Great Gatsby kind of party on Halloween weekend when people are out there starving? How dare he bring that in? While at the same time, they say that they're representing the rich, meaning Donald Trump's representing the rich, but yet Democrats are not allowing the low income and the people that actually need social programs to have said social programs. The irony is so thick that you can cut it with a butter knife, and Democrats have lost their minds because they don't even know what they're fighting for. And even CNN, MSNBC, every other liberal media outlet continues to say, hey, you literally have zero on-ramp to get yourself back on track, to say that you need to open up Congress again and to find a way to fight the Trump administration by calling him a king, but not being in session to stop him from what he's doing. The stupid is running rampant. And it's kind of crazy to watch. But we'll see how long this continues on. It's going on until, obviously, at least through today with elections, to see if that generated the momentum for Democrats that they were looking for. Lots more to get to. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. Truth, reason, and common sense. This is the voice of reason with Andy Hoosier.
Here's something you all may not know about me. I think a lot of people on the left are learning that when I ran for Congress in 2020, I ran criticizing Republicans and Democrats equally because I come from a working class family, ran a construction company for over 20 years, and I feel like the government has failed all of us. And it purely disgusts me. It really does. And I represent a district that is rural, manufacturing district, blue-collar workers, and people have been crushed by decades of failure in Washington, D.C. And so I have no problem pointing fingers at everyone. And the worst thing that I just can't get over is we're not working right now. And I put that criticism directly on the Speaker of the House.
So weird. So Marjorie Taylor Greene made her grand appearance on The View earlier today. That was a little weird. And to blame Speaker Mike Johnson for the government shutdown, that's very strange to me. I don't understand that one. I know, right? I mean, again, we have a continuing resolution, a clean CR to fund the government to get it back open to where we can get the services again. People can get their paychecks that are being furloughed right now. We can do our thing. And she blames Speaker Mike Johnson. That's weird to me. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm usually a big fan of hers. I like what she does for the most part, but this is where she's starting to branch off, and she's wanting to re-implement subsidies into Obamacare because she's concerned about the premiums going up. Right, because we're tired of subsidizing a socialist healthcare program. Maybe it's time to reform said government program and actually get rid of government healthcare or minimize it or reform it in some aspect. I don't know. Just thinking out loud. Thinking out loud, but it is putting a lot of pressure on the private side of things, and that's where we go to our
What's Trending Today.
There's an ongoing issue that we're seeing across many cities, and most of them deep blue cities, but does that really matter, and where do we go to fix this issue across the board? And that is the issue of homelessness. Yeah, homeless populations continue to grow around the nation right now, and especially as we see the elections today and a push for potentially a radical socialist to take over New York City with Zohan Mamdani. What would that mean for a place like New York City that's already battling the homelessness issue themselves? Really happy to have on the program as the CEO of the Independent Institute and author of the latest book, Beyond Homeless, Good Intentions, Bad Outcomes, Transformative Solutions. Really happy to have on the program here, Mary Theroux. Mary, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on the show. It's such a devastating topic to talk about with the homeless population that's been growing, and it seems like, Mary, it's been getting worse over the past few years.
Yes, it certainly has, and it's just tragic.
Why is that, do you think? If we have all these programs, we have all these opportunities, we have homeless shelters, we have, in larger cities, we have departments of city and county governments literally addressing this particular issue, why does it continue to get worse, do you think?
Well, it's all rooted in a very failed hypothesis, which is that, it's called homelessness. Current popular term is talking about the unhoused and so on. Which is descriptive. There are people who are living outside, but it's not diagnostic. It's not that they're living outside because they don't have a house, which is the theory. Okay, if we give them a house, then they're not homeless anymore, and we've solved the problem.
Yeah.
So starting in 2013, federal policy shifted to something called Housing First. All federal funding was taken from emergency shelters and transitional housing programs and put solely into Housing First. And Housing First is permanent supportive housing, meaning you're going to warehouse people for the rest of their lives, which has no conditions for substance use, for employment, no conditions whatsoever. You're just given a condo to waste the rest of your life in with the problems that put you into homelessness in the first place. And that just doesn't work. And after 12 years, we should see it. I mean, when Obama announced it in 2013, he claimed this was going to end homelessness in 10 years. It's 12 years on, and homelessness has gone up by more than 25%. So the experiment has failed. It's time to recognize that and take a different tack.
Well, not only is it weird to try and just put someone in a condo and say, here, live the rest of your life out here, paid for and permanentized by the federal government, that's unsustainable, isn't it? I mean, if we continue to grow these condos and these apartments and we just build more of them and just stick people in them, how in the world do we maintain those or actually make sure they're somewhat livable or make sure that we continue to be able, like, that's just on the basic level, that's unsustainable, isn't it?
Well, there are several points you've just brought up, so I'll try to address them one at a time. One is you could build an infinite amount of housing and it wouldn't solve the problem, because for every person that you house, an additional 3 to 4 become unhoused, and that's either people who become housed and they don't stay, they leave, in addition to new people who are coming into housing. So again, we could spend every last dollar we have building permanent supportive housing for the homeless, and it would not have put a dent in it. The other thing you mentioned is, yes, they tend to be not pleasant places because, again, you've got people with serious problems. I mean, there are many reasons why people become homeless. A large part of it is things like trauma, childhood trauma, which morphs into mental illness.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, substance use disorder, addiction associated with it. There are other serious problems that people have. So if you put somebody into an apartment or a condo and they have serious problems, well, the places tend to get destroyed. And they tend to be very dystopian places to be.
Well, yeah, that's just it. They're not addressing the real issue. I mean, we need to look at why someone becomes homeless, and we can talk about the real estate market. We can talk about, poor life decisions or whatever. But if you start talking about mental health issues, if you start talking about addiction problems, and you just stick these people in there, you're not addressing the root cause of why they're homeless in the first place, which is typical government, right? I mean, we just put a bigger Band-Aid on a wide open gaping hole instead of figuring out why we have a wide open gaping hole here. And we need to focus on the addiction problem or the mental health issues to get them back on their feet so they don't need government housing. But we never seem to want to have a conversation about that aspect of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, their government does want to come up with one big top-down solution to every, it's like one mode of education, one mode of healthcare, and one mode of dealing with homeless individuals. And people become homeless for a variety of reasons, and we need a variety of exits from homelessness for them. I mean, for some people, it's just bad luck, so they just need a little bit of help.
Sure.
For some people, it is a serious mental illness problem, and they need institutional care. But we're not investing in things like good mental health care. We're not investing in things like good recovery programs and so on. We're just trying to put everybody in an apartment and say, there, you're housed, you're not homeless anymore. And it's really tragic because you're not helping people. And people here in San Francisco, for example, 2/3 of the 800 people who die of overdoses every year are in this housing.
Oh man!
So
That's crazy.
it's a death sentence for many of them.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were in San Francisco either. Isn't that where they were, at least for a while? I don't know if they're still doing it or not. Weren't they giving out like free syringes of heroin too? Because, well, if you're going to do the heroin underneath a bridge, we at least want you to do it without a dirty needle, so you're not dying out there, and we can administer it to you, cleanly, so that way you can get it without actually dying from some type of infection. I mean, are they still doing that kind of garbage out there?
Well, it's not just here. In addition to Housing First as a federal policy, there's a theory called harm reduction. And harm reduction is to reduce the harm of using drugs, theoretically, and so that you can, stay alive and hopefully get a chance of recovery. But the way it's practiced is it's really just enabling continued drug use. You're right. So syringes are given out, which, started during the days of the AIDS epidemic. So there was some, certainly good reason for giving clean syringes out to keep people from spreading disease. But now it's so ridiculous. They're giving out foil for smoking fentanyl. They also give out pamphlets showing people exactly how to use drugs and without any information about how to access recovery services.
Wow. Well, what an insane world. I never thought that we would live in this type of alternate reality. I swear 2012 did something during that whole end of the Mayan calendar. I think we jumped timelines or something because the world's a crazy place now for sure. So we're talking with Mary Theroux.
Is that what happened?
You know what? That's the only explanation, logical explanation I can come up with some of the crazy that we have today. We're talking with Mary Theroux. She's the CEO of the Independent Institute, also of the book Beyond Homeless. Are we getting better? You mentioned, not focusing on these issues with the addiction or whatever, our mental health. Are we getting better, at least bringing an awareness to mental health issues? Living in Kansas, where my flagship is here, our county is actually building a multi-million-dollar facility for mental health, and especially for children, so that way we can start actually getting kids in here with mental health issues. Are we getting better, at least beginning to bring an awareness to mental health problems to where we can start focusing on it for the next generation?
I can't say honestly that we are. I'm familiar with that hospital. Is that hospital part of the new One Rise campus they're trying to do in Wichita?
I don't know. Possibly. It very well may be.
Okay. Anyway, I can't honestly say that we are. I'm glad that Kansas is investing in that. It's clearly needed, and Wichita is a regional hub for homelessness and needs lots of good services in addition to that. But most places are not investing in mental health facilities. And you don't, in addition to hospitals, you need a full range, everything from immediate care, telecare, and so on.
To some long-term stuff. Yeah.
Mary, well, short-term, long-term, every term.
Across the board,
Again, you have people with with a variety of problems that need addressing, and we're not doing it.
We're not doing it. Yeah, Mary, hang on the line. We got to take a hard break here. I want to continue this when we come back around the corner for your Tuesday here on The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier. America's safe space for common sense. This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
You have helped end these government shutdowns in the past when they came about, and you did it by bringing
I'm very good at it,
you
but
brought members of Congress
I'm not going to do it by extortion. I'm not going to do it by being extorted by the Democrats who have lost their way. There's something wrong with these people.
So then what happens on November 15th when the troops don't get a paycheck?
Schumer is a basket case, and he has nothing to lose. He's become, I just left Japan, he's become a kamikaze pilot.
I mean, that's a way to put it, I guess, if you want to. President Donald Trump during his 60 Minutes interview that happened over the weekend. By the way, some election updates as we are watching today.
What's trending today?
As apparently there's been oddness. I told you about the oddness and the anomaly on our local ballots here in the Kansas area for a city council race. And there was a mistake by the county on the printing of those ballots. But apparently there was a ballot mistake in New York as well, with Zohran Mamdani appearing twice on a ballot. Twice!
Say what?
That's a little weird. So an investigation going into that one. But, gee, I wonder, who that favors. Right now, the poly markets again show that Mamdani has a 92% chance of winning in New York City. The renowned, openly advocating of socialism, the banning of billionaires, free grocery stores, free housing, pass off the property tax to white people in different communities. Yeah, that's the world that New York's apparently going to be voting for, which is kind of crazy. Mary, let's talk about New York for just a moment. There's already a crazy homeless population, a wild mental health issue problem in New York City. Not to get too terribly political necessarily, but just these policies, if they get implemented in New York, God forbid, do you think that's going to see issues with the homeless get better or worse, in your opinion?
Well, his housing proposals will make them get much worse because, of course, such proposals always result in there being an additional shortage of housing. And while housing supply isn't the sole cause of homelessness, it's a contributor to it,
sure.
Certainly. So if you reduce the amount of housing that's available, yes, you're going to push more people into the streets.
Yeah. It's wild. What a crazy time. So in the last couple of minutes we have, let's talk about solutions. How do we find real solutions to this issue? If we focus on mental health issues, we focus on addiction issues, what else can we be doing to address the homeless population? Like you said, it's growing all over the country. Here in the city of Wichita, Kansas, where I'm based out of, I mean, we've had a massive surge in homeless. And in fact, we bought an old elementary school in our area. The city bought it and is turning it into a sanctuary, I guess, for the homeless individuals in our community. I mean, that's what we're doing, is we're now increasing government entities and government spending at local levels to try to address these problems. Is that the way to go, or what do we do to start fixing these issues right now?
It really isn't. And the solutions, there are really good programs almost everywhere, including in Wichita. There are good programs available. But the issue is that most of them, help a few people or help, 50 people or whatever. And it's a problem that is best solved when you bring every sector of a community together to work in concert to devise a situation that can address all of the different individual causes and provide the individual solutions to homelessness. So the best example we've seen anywhere in the country is in San Antonio, Texas, which in 2008, a business leader there brought together every sector of the community, homelessness advocates, the public sector, fire, police, EMS, the hospital systems, every nonprofit in the city. They formed a task force. They spent 2 years looking at 200 homeless programs around the country to learn best practices. And then they created a strategic plan to create a 22-acre campus, which is adjacent to downtown San Antonio. And it is a one-stop shop. It has 80 nonprofit partners on campus.
Wow.
And it provides every need conceivable for people experiencing homelessness or at risk of becoming homeless.
Right.
It's been operating for 15 years. It's helped thousands and thousands of people, has a very strong track record. It's operated by an independent 501c3 that is transparent, regularly provides reports to the community. They had independent consultants come in who showed that for every dollar spent there, $29 in value is returned to the community in terms of savings from EMS, economic
that's incredible.
benefit, and so on. In Wichita, actually, there's an effort I mentioned briefly called the One Rise campus. If you look up One Rise, I think they have a website. They're trying to start a campus there, which would emulate the Haven model. And
that's good to know, Mary.
I know something about it. I think it's worth encouraging.
There's a lot of opportunity there, and we're broadcasting in San Antonio. So hat tip off to you guys. We need to start mimicking that model, it sounds like. Mary, we appreciate it, my friend. I could talk to you about this for hours. Got to get you back on the show again real soon. But until then, we are out of time. We'll see you back on the radio tomorrow. Bye.